we got a fresh bag of jalapeno jerky on. Don't get it a minute a month. I'm in here. You 5, 10, 15, 20, 25,
15.
get 30, 15, 20. Buddy, you gotta be $20 every now and then. A bit of 75 now here now. 100 other way, 100 and a quarter and a half, 100 and a half, 175 now. 200 and a quarter, 2 and a half, 75 and a 3. Sold it, buddy. 275.
Guys, welcome back to our fourth and final episode of our Cerro Gordo Ghost Town series. When we first got to Cerro Gordo, our plan was to get there and start pouring concrete immediately. However, when we got there, we realized that there was still a lot of work that needed to be done. So we spent 2 or 3 days prepping the footings, doing a bunch of other site work, digging open mines, getting rebar ready, hauling stuff up the hill. So that was basically Monday to Thursday. But a bunch of us had to be home on Friday for some other scheduling stuff that we had here in Salt Lake. When we left on Thursday, the whole group didn't go with us. We ended up leaving Bud and Hunter behind because really their job was to truck concrete sacks up and down the hill all weekend. And since that's really kind of only a 2-man job, since we only had 2 cargo trucks there, the rest of us weren't really needed, so we were able to go home and take care of other obligations, come back on Sunday when most of the materials were already moved to the top of the hill. So obviously we came up to Cerro Gordo to help Brent, but we also encountered some opportunities to help other people. Like when we were driving down the canyon one day, we came across this minivan that looked like it had just been absolutely hammered into a rock. Had a flat tire, was kind of hanging over the ledge, and we stopped and there was 2 girls in it. And they didn't speak very good English, but I said, hey, do you need help? And in the little English that they could kind of muster, they said, no, we're good, our help's coming. And we're like, are you sure? And they're like, yeah, we're good. So they were pretty adamant that we not stop and help, which is not like us because we got a truck full of tools, truck full of capable guys, like we can pretty much solve any problem pretty quickly. But they refused, so we kept cruising down the canyon, and when we got right towards the bottom down in Keeler, we saw another group, and they were Chinese. They were Chinese college students that were on vacation here, and they were with Brent's architect in his Land Rover. And they were kind of stopped on the side of the road, and I pulled up, and Brent's architect was like, hey, can you help these people? I was like, oh, is that the people from the van? And he said, yeah, they came down here to call a tow truck or call AAA, but they can't get a hold of anybody. So I was like, well, they said they had help coming. And he said, well, help's not coming. We're their help. So can you go back up there and help them? So we turned around, went back up the canyon, and approached the same 2 girls that were sitting in the van who looked terrified and said, hey, we're your help. And they were like, huh? What? And then all of a sudden, all of us pile out of the trucks that we were in. There's probably all 9 of us. We pile out and just start going to town because remember, we're flying out this night and we had to hurry and get to the airport and get in the plane and get back home. So we don't have a ton of time to sit here and play around. So we started doing the full-blown NASCAR pit stop tire change. They didn't have a spare tire. They didn't have the jack. The jack in my truck was missing. So we did an old trick of mine where I basically reversed the van onto an off-camber part of the hill, lifted the tire in the air that we needed to swap, got in there, popped it off, and then noticed it was popped off the bead. So we used the old starter fluid trick where we sprayed around the rim, hit it with a lighter, boom, it popped back on the rim. Those people literally thought that they were watching black magic. They were screaming and cheering and clapping and asking what the hell we were doing. It was pretty awesome to see that, and that was actually kind of it made the whole moment of stopping and helping them worth it. Then we realized that their tire did have a puncture in the sidewall, which sidewall punctures are not real easy to fix. But I do have a tire patch kit, so I ran and grabbed it, put a couple plugs in there. It's holding air, filled it back up all the way, put it back on the van, got their van pulled down off the rocks, and bam, got these people back on the road, because without the spare tire and without being able to get a hold of a tow truck or AAA, they would have been here for a long time. And we said, okay, take this tire's not going to last very long. It's going to continue to, probably have a leak in it. Go to a tire store. And they're like, okay, we go to Death Valley. And we're like, no, go to a tire store. Go get this fixed. Do not go on the rest of your trip until you get it fixed. And they're like, okay, Death Valley. So luckily, as we left Bud and Hunter there over the weekend, they told us that they did end up seeing them back in town at the tire store, getting a tire replaced, and didn't try to go into Death Valley with, you know, a damaged tire. So that was nice, totally unexpected, and honestly, we didn't have much of a choice. We had to move them because they were blocking like that single lane canyon road, and if they'd stayed there, we wouldn't be able to get the heavy equipment back up and down the canyon.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. I had a little bit of your shirt.
Let me just go.
So we finished everything that we could. We all piled in the plane Thursday night and flew back home. We spent Friday and Saturday at home, and then we ended up flying back to Cerro Gordo on Sunday.
Hey, we didn't know you worked at a grocery outlet.
I just started. I just got hired.
You missed it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I almost got fired at the same time.
Can you recreate what you said to him?
No. The viewers don't need to see that. It was bad. What's your name?
I don't know.
You don't know? I'm Dave. Nice to meet you. I don't know.
Oh my god. Do you know that's what they call me? Volleyball Dave?
They call you Dave?
Yeah.
It's because Dave is just a very...
It's one of the best names.
Oh, Daisy. Nice to meet you. Dave and Daisy. We're the dynamic duo, Dave and Daisy. You know?
You really are hard of hearing. She said no pretty loud.
Yeah, she's hard.
153.
Jimbo, get on the back.
Hey, you know what the difference between a hippo and a zippo is? One's really heavy, yeah, and the other's just a little lighter. That was a good one.
And you guys want to know what all this cash and the current card have in common? Well, they could both be yours if you click the link in my description below and use the promo code DSparks, sign up for the current card, and I got $3,000 cash courtesy of Current that I'm going to be sending to 10 of you. Literally, all you got to do, click the link in my description below, get your current card, and over the next week or so, I'm just going to be blasting cash out to 10 of you. $300 a piece for a grand total of $3,000. Guys, Current is the new form of banking. It is modern banking for a modern era. It's all online, it's mobile, and all you gotta do is have this card and you are covered anywhere you go.
And check this out. You sign up for direct deposit with Current, you can get your paycheck a couple days earlier, and you got overdraft protection.
So guys, if you want some of this cash and you want the coolest bank account around, literally all you gotta do is go down to my description, click the link, go to the Current site, use promo code DSparks, wham, bam.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, man. Is it ma'am?
Ma'am.
Mans. Thank you, mans.
Man. It's however you identify.
Thank you.
Thank you, man, but ma'am.
Thank you for the ham.
Mmm.
Wham, bam, thank you for the ham.
Can I get some fried spam?
No, you cannot, ma'am.
Damn.
Wham!
Sam!
You're a scam.
Blam!
Guys, Current's legit. Click the link in my description below, sign up, and get you some cash.
Cash money!
So to make the concrete up at Cerro Gordo, we ended up having Quickcrete make these 3,000-pound bags of dry mix cement. From there, those bags were loaded on the 5-ton cargo trucks and hauled to the top of the hill. On top of that, we ended up trucking a bunch of totes of water to the top of the hill from down in Keeler. Now, once we got the mix and the water up on the hill, we were able to take one bag at a time, pour it in the top of the mixer truck, and then pour about 2 totes worth of water with 10 bags. So since we're gonna be mixing the concrete and the water right here on site, all in the mixer truck, we need to build a little bit of a platform. The reason we dug this 8-foot platform was basically it's way easier for the excavator to sit higher and load these big heavy materials into the top of the hopper, because the top of the hopper on the concrete truck is roughly anywhere between 12 and 13 feet. So a little bit of height advantage definitely helped us get the materials in there and mix them better. So the moment we were all waiting for, literally building up to all week long, was having the city inspector come out and look at the rebar and give us a thumbs up or thumbs down so that we could start mixing and pouring concrete. He showed up a little bit late because as he was coming up the canyon, his vehicle broke down. So after waiting roughly an hour, the anticipation was killing everybody because we just wanted to get to work, and we knew that if he was gonna have any changes to the plan that we would have to go back and change the rebar.
So the most positive news is past inspection. You know, that's what we were all kind of waiting on. Got the thumbs up, so we're pouring. We're mixing the very first load of cement over there and getting that method down. We're making a little thing here, a little bridge so the concrete truck can get it to some of these harder to reach areas. And then we got a lot of pouring to do. You know, I did the math. If we had to guess, I'd say, midnight, 2 o'clock, 2 a.m. Okay. Don't quote me on that, but.
So everybody was a little bit stressed on pins and needles waiting for him to show up. He got there, took a few looks around, gave us a big fat thumbs up and said, start pouring. Concrete so far, roughly 22 yards. Everything's going pretty smoothly. Truck's working the way it's supposed to. It's mixing pretty well considering we have to pump water out of a puddle into some totes, into the totes, and then into there because that's how we're measuring. We have to know how much water we're putting in. So we're like 500 gallons per load, and if we just pump it straight from the little puddle we got over there, we don't know how much we're pumping. So it's a little bit redundant, but it's working. As of right now, I'm guessing we're probably going to end up with about 6 truckloads that we have to dump in there, and that's roughly 66 yards, and we've got that. Water we've got. We might have to bring up another couple loads just to be safe, but so far it's looking like we're going to have pretty much exactly what we need, hopefully. So Brent ended up ordering about 80 bags of concrete for this job, and we ended up using every single bag. Now, you got to understand that each bag of concrete uses about 50 gallons of water. So we ended up going through about roughly 4,000 gallons of water to mix the concrete. So in order to mix the concrete, I sat in the excavator and grabbed the bags and loaded them into the hopper of the cement truck. Now on the hopper of the cement truck was either Jim, Hans, Jax, or Diesel Dave. They kind of took turns up there because what you had to do in order to unload the concrete into the hopper, you have to undo 2 tie strings on the bottom of each bag, which then forms a spout. But when you do that, concrete and cement dust is going everywhere. So the guys up on top of the hopper were getting absolutely blasted by this nasty concrete dust as it was going into the hopper. And at the same time, we had the mixer spinning like pretty much full speed as we were adding the different materials, water, and it was mixing the concrete right there as we went. Across a little homemade bridge into the middle of the foundation here because it's the only way to get in the middle here. Hope these timbers hold. You know, buying this mixer truck for this job was a little bit of a gamble. Kind of rolled the dice because mixer trucks are technically just designed to haul wet mix concrete from one place to another. Now, wet mix concrete is made in a batch plant and it's kind of all made to specification and it's perfect, ready to go. When you're making wet concrete in a mixer truck from dry concrete, well, it's a little bit more of a process because you have to make sure that the consistency is perfect. You don't want it too thick and you don't want it too thin. So we had to constantly monitor the water levels and everything else that we were putting inside the mixer truck. But at the end of the day, this mixer truck was perfect because it allowed us to take that mix right there on the site, put it together, and then immediately transport it to the footings and be poured. So the turnaround time was ridiculously fast, like so much faster than if we were trying to haul wet mix from the bottom of the hill all the way to the top. And it was also a better solution than trying to bring like a mobile batch plant. Yeah, I've seen a ton of comments from people saying, oh, why didn't you just take a batch plant up the hill? Well, I'll tell you why. Because the batch plant, we still would have had to haul cement, rock, sand, and all the materials needed to be able to make the concrete. So we still would have been hauling a bunch of stuff up the hill, and then we would have had to mix it, make sure all the portions and everything were right. Whereas with these sacks that were pre-mixed, dry mix, all we had to do was add water and go. So bringing these 3,000 pound sacks of Quikrete was definitely the right move. Saved us a ton of time, saved us a lot of wasted materials that we didn't have to sit there and try to mix on site. Honestly, this was definitely the right move. The way these footings are laid out on the new hotel, some of the back footings and the corner pieces are a little hard to reach with the 16-foot chute on the mixer truck. Meaning when we would pull up, it would be within, 4 or 5 feet of being able to reach the spot, and we don't have any more sections of chute to add on. So we had to take a big piece of corrugated steel and basically put it underneath the very last chute of the mixer truck, and it added that extra 4 or 5 feet that we needed to be able to get the concrete right down the footings. One of the most important things here today is that we use all this concrete wisely, because really we only have just enough to get this job done. Like, we don't have any concrete to waste. So the last thing we can do is kind of afford to be spilling concrete in the middle or away from the footings in areas that it's not going to be used. So we got to be very smart in the way that we pour it and the way that we don't waste it. So as the day went on and everybody was working together, something really stood out to me. And it's that everybody here has got literally the exact same goal in mind. Everybody just kind of clicked and started working in unison. Everybody knew that they had this common goal and we were working towards it. And really, it was incredible to watch all of my guys, all of Brent's guys, all the volunteers just kind of start assuming different roles and doing everything that they needed to be able to get the job done. No one person had one single task. Literally everybody there was waiting to see what the next thing that needed to be done, and they jumped in and did it. I've never seen teamwork like this in my entire life. So one thing that I need to do is give a huge shout out to all of my guys. Every single one of these guys stepped up big time. Now, working this town and doing things up here at 8,500 feet elevation in the middle of Death Valley, it's not easy. The work is hard, the weather is rough, the supplies are limited, food and stuff is even limited, but every single one of my guys went above and beyond to get this work done. Starting with Diesel Dave. Diesel Dave is, he's just a workhorse. He's an absolute mule. The guy puts his head down and never stops working. And the thing about him is, even though he's one of the top dogs and he's one of the bosses, he literally finds the worst jobs and just dives right in. And at the end of the day, he usually ends up the one who's the dirtiest, the dustiest, but with the biggest smile on his face. Then you've got Hans. Hans has been my right-hand man for years, and he is the kind of guy who just wants to get in, get the work done, and get out of there. So he's very no nonsense when it comes to a situation like this. He is constantly trying to figure out where he can fill in to help, but more than that, he's really good at orchestrating and organizing everybody else. He's good at delegating tasks to different people and good at keeping everybody working and keeping everybody with something to do. So super grateful for Hans. Then you got Jax. Now, you guys know that Jax is kind of new to the channel. He's been in a handful of our videos so far, but I've known him long before this. In fact, the way I got to know Jax was I bought a bunch of cows from him. And he didn't just sell me the cows. He personally brought them down to Utah, hand delivered them, unloaded them, and then spent the next 2 days helping Jackknife Jim and I go through and figure out how to raise them, what they needed, get our fences right. The guy is hardworking, he's honest, and he's one of the most enjoyable people to be around you've ever met. I've never seen Jax in a bad mood. He's constantly just looking for ways to make you smile, do his crazy, goofy voices, and he knows a little bit about everything. So from trucks to heavy equipment, I threw him in the loader and he just was right at home. And running a loader, it's not hard, but it's also not easy to be proficient. He jumped in that thing and just went right to work. Super grateful that the Jax came along. Obviously, having his truck and being able to pull the trailer with the 5 tons down was a huge thing for us, because being able to have these extra 5 tons down here literally is what got this job done. So huge thanks to Jax for coming all the way down from Montana and doing this job with us. Next up, you've got Rob. Now, Rob is kind of like the strong silent type. He doesn't say much, but what he does say, he means. And the dude is so talented. He's one of those guys where you see him quietly working in the corner, you know that he's doing the hardest task there. He's doing the measuring, he's doing all the parts of the construction that make the job work, making sure everything's level, making sure everything's plumb. He's actually way smarter than you might think. He's also way more talented, way more capable than you might think. And honestly, Rob is somebody that I've known since like 4th grade. So I know his character, I know his personality, I love being around him. I'm really grateful that Rob came out here because without him, we would have been way behind on getting these forms and the rebar and everything else set up. From there, you've got Hunter. Now, Hunter is one of those guys where you just can't help but love him. He's got this big goofy smile on his face all the time with his flaming orange hair. He's tall, he's built like a windsock, but he is probably one of the smartest guys here. Believe it or not, Hunter he's like borderline Rain Man genius. He's so capable of so many different things. He's actually, in our shop, he's like one of our engineers. He can draw up intricate pieces on the computer in SolidWorks and then go out and fabricate them and build them. Hunter is one of the most valuable members of our team, and I'm super grateful to have him. Then you got Bud, old road king. Now, Bud will flat out tell you that he was not born to work a shovel. And if you've seen any footage of him working a shovel, then it was only a short clip because he didn't do it very long. The man does not enjoy manual labor, but that's not what he's made for. Bud is meant to move things around. Bud is one of the best drivers I've ever had work for me. He's dedicated, he's loyal, he's talented, and no matter what, no matter where, and no matter when, I can call Bud and say, hey man, I need this, I need that, I need this moved, and he says, I'm on it. The guy is just simply always available, always ready to jump at whatever task I have for him, and he's a damn good driver. Then you've got Bad Boy. Old Bad Boy is obviously on the media side. He takes pictures and records and helps edit some of these videos. But, you know, for a guy like him, being in an environment like this where there's a lot of manual labor going on, he actually ended up making himself very useful when he wasn't taking pictures or shooting videos. He ended up finding tons of opportunities to, you know, help make sure the guys had plenty of food and water. He did do some manual labor. He ran the 4-wheeler around like crazy, bringing parts and pieces here and there. So in addition to just taking pictures and videos, he really stepped up and helped with the project. Now, Jackknife Jim is also one of those guys who just is kind of good at everything. And even though he missed the first couple days of being here at Cerro Gordo, when he does show up, he gets it done. Jim is the type of guy who's proactively looking to what's the next obstacle that we're gonna have, what's the next challenge we gotta solve. And so the nice thing about him is that allows me to focus on a task at hand rather than worrying about where we got to go next or what we got to do next, because he's already thought of it, and he usually comes to me and says, hey, here's where we're going, here's what we need. And he's really good at logistics. He's really good at figuring out what needs to go where. In fact, one of the most valuable guys on my team, simply because he's talented, he's a hard worker, he's smart, and he doesn't really get tired. I just see him go kind of nonstop. Then you got Davis. Now guys, Davis is the reason why all this looks so good. You guys have seen that every single video that we release just gets better and better. And in fact, some of these edits that I've seen, like before I even post them, I'm just like, where did this come from? How does this look so good? Like, this did not look this good in real life. And that's all thanks to Davis. He's the one who's made this all feel like a movie. And what I love about Davis is you can turn your back and not pay attention to him for a couple of hours, and he's off getting B-roll, getting drone shots. Like, he doesn't just sit around. He's constantly looking to make things better, to get that next shot, to make all the video quality just that much better. So finding him and bringing him on full time for the vlog was one of the best decisions I ever made. You know, in addition to my guys, Brent had some really solid volunteers up here. Every single person who stepped up to help, like I said, just kind of filled whatever role needed to get done at the time. They weren't sitting around waiting for just this or just that. Everybody was proactively trying to find things that they could do to move this process along. And one thing I didn't realize was how big of a deal this really was to Brent. I knew that he needed to get it done. I knew that he needed concrete. But spending time up here with him, I'm realizing this is a very emotional day for him. This is something he's been trying to get done for almost a year. You know, the American hotel burnt down almost a year ago to the day, and that was a big, hard moment for him in his life. He felt guilty, he felt responsible, he felt like the hotel burnt down and it was all his fault. So understanding that, I now understand why it's such a big deal for him to get this place rebuilt, because this is a big project that weighs on his mind a lot. So it's pretty cool to start understanding how big of a deal this is to him, and understanding that we're not just pouring concrete. We're helping Brent build a legacy, which I was not, honestly, I did not see that coming when we first started this project. I really thought this was just gonna get in, get out, do some manual labor and go home, but this has turned into like a memorable, pretty cool experience. Well, Brent, we came, we saw, and we concreted.
You did it!
Concreted!
Oh,
come on!
The impossible was made possible by you guys. Dude. Thank you so much.
How's it feel?
It was fun.
Yeah.
It feels amazing. It feels almost surreal, you know, I've been thinking
Right?
over such a long time to actually have it done. It's
Yeah.
amazing. I think this is gonna be the momentum spark that I need to get the rest of the hotel done.
I agree.
So I'm excited about it.
Because literally every challenge in the book that we could have faced, hit us.
Logistical nightmare.
Logistical nightmare. One thing after another, after another, after another. But guys, we did it. The foundation for the American Hotel is in place, and now, yes, it's only up from here. So guys, this is a big deal. Brent's been trying to get this done for 8 months or so.
At least, yes.
And one dead end after another, after another, after another. Even we ran into a significant amount of dead ends out here. What was supposed to be a 2-day trip turned into roughly a week.
It's because we ran into dead ends in the mine.
A lot of dead ends in the mine. We did spend a lot of time playing in the mine. Our time here was not wasted though. All right, dude. Well, we got a long drive down the canyon and back
Before
home.
you go,
so, yes,
Johnny, you know, there's not a gift I could give you that would be appropriate, but
Right.
I figured I'd give you guys keys to the city.
Oh,
Actual keys to some original wood from here.
that is cool. So awesome, Dave.
And well, actually, that's where.
Okay.
Well,
Oh, hell yeah, dude. That's awesome. Thank you so much,
that
dude.
wood is original from the old.
That's from the
Is it really?
that's the
American
floor
Hotel.
of the American Hotel.
Dude,
Yeah.
that is so rad.
So
So I got the keys to the city. I'm gonna run for mayor here soon. It'll be me versus Johnny, and Johnny will win because he'll get the minority vote. And then we got a chunk of the original hotel. What says HD on there? Is that what that says? Mm-hmm. Guys, that's rad. Thank you so much, bro. Thank you, dude. This is awesome. Hey guys, you should come check out Cerro Gordo because it's cooler than it even looks. His videos make it look dumb. It's way cooler in person.
Today is probably the most exciting day of my time at Cerro Gordo. We are digging the footings and putting in the rebar for the new American Hotel. And getting concrete up here is something I've been struggling with for months. You know, I've been banging my head against the wall for probably 9 months now trying to get concrete here. And you know, Heavy D shows up, gets the job done, and so we're rocking and rolling down there. There's more machinery here than I've ever seen anywhere, much less Cerro Gordo. We have excavators, there's a loader, there's a concrete truck, there's all sorts of stuff down there. And for me, it's exciting, right? You know, it's like progress. You know, even in the background, I hear the sound of the loader going off, and I hear wood being nailed in, and it feels like finally, you know, this dream of rebuilding the American Hotel is gonna come true.
You know, when we started this project, I told you that this was the most logistically challenging thing that I've ever done. And that's still true. You know, by the time we not only had to get stuff to the top of the hill, but we had to get all of our trucks and vehicles and equipment, and we had to remember dumb little things like this tool and that tool, and we had to bring it all from, you know, hundreds of miles away from our home in Utah to be able to make sure we had everything here. So what I learned was you can never overpack. If you think there's a chance that you might need this or that, you're gonna need it, so load it up and bring it. I also learned that hard things can be done with groups that are working well together. You know, a team that is in sync and communicating can accomplish any project, even really hard ones like getting 80 yards of concrete mixed and poured at the top of a 8,500 foot mountain in a ghost town. So what I think I'm probably going to remember the most about my time here at Cerro Gordo was just the magic of bringing this town back to life. It was a very palpable feeling. Every move that we made, whether it was uncovering a mine or getting that next, truck full of supplies at the top of the mountain, everybody was just cheering and rooting for that. In my entire life, I've never seen a truck full of supplies show up to a job site and have people so relieved and so happy and so excited. So honestly, that's probably what's gonna stick out and what I'll remember the most about my time here. I first took this on because it was a challenge. And I love a good challenge, and I knew that it would make great content. Obviously, we came out here to be able to shoot our videos and show you guys exactly what we do and how we solve hard problems. But now that I've spent some time here and I see how much Brent truly loves this place, I came because I want that man to continue to do what he's doing and be able to have the skills and resources necessary to keep pushing along. I know that he feels like he's stalled out a little bit over the last few months and not being able to get the concrete, and he became a little bit frustrated. I mean, I even see comments from his regular channel viewers saying, Brent, you're losing too much weight, you're getting skinny, you don't look healthy. And to be honest with you, there was a while there that he wasn't, you know. I watched Brent get jerked around so badly in just a few days that we were here by different suppliers and vendors and different people that would promise him, yeah, it'll be there, and then it doesn't show up. Or they would promise, yeah, you know, we'll deliver it here and it's gonna be X amount, and then they would call him back and be like, oh, sorry, it's 10 times that price. So I think Brent just having a little bit of a group to kind of lean on and chat back and forth was huge for him. I mean, you guys remember, this is a ghost town, and a lot of time he's here all by himself. So to be able to be around a big group of people and have this wild energy and just this ambition, I really think that kind of gave Brent his second wind. And now there's a ton of volunteers that have seen this project that want to get involved. So more and more people are heading up to Cerro Gordo to bring that town back to life, and that's exactly what Brent needs. Brent should not be doing this alone. There's a lot of things that Brent has to do alone, but he shouldn't have to be doing this whole project and all this work by himself, because there's a lot to be done and there's a lot to be gained from the volunteers and the people that are coming up and spending time here. And it's not financial. You're not gonna make any money up here, but you are gonna gain skills and experiences that you're gonna remember forever. So I would strongly suggest that every single one of you jumps in and tries to find a way to come up and volunteer and help Brent. But don't plan on coming up here and having a vacation. Come up and plan on working day and night, working your fingers to the bone and doing whatever you can to help bring this town back to life. I also got to give a big shout out to Harmon Thiara from H&S Heavy Haul. Harmon is a guy that I'd never met before until this trip, and when he reached out and said, I will handle the transportation of the excavator and the loader, and I'll provide them at no charge. Guys, that's a big deal. The guy was probably out of pocket 15, 20 grand in bringing the equipment down here, and he just did it with a smile on his face and said, let me know when it's done and I'll come pick it up. Keep it for a week, for a month, for a year, I don't care. That's a big deal from a man with a big heart. So guys, now that we've been to Cerro Gordo and we understand the dynamic and the layout and the climate and the terrain, we have a much better understanding of how we can continue to help Brent in the future. We know what vehicles work, we know what vehicles don't work. We know that we're able to drive, you know, an 80,000 pound concrete mixer truck to the top of the mountain with no problems. We learned that we're also not able to take trailers up the mountain because some of those turns are too sharp and too tight. But just know that it's rougher than it looks. It's more unforgiving than it looks. The cliffs are steeper, the falls are a lot further, and everything about this place is very high risk. Even from driving up the canyon road to going in the mines, everything here just toes the line of extremely dangerous. And I think that's why it makes us all feel so alive.
You know, everybody came together and we pulled it off. We pulled off this goal that I had been told for months was impossible to do. And it just makes me so excited, not just about what was done, but what's to come, you know, Cerro Gordo's future. I think this was the first piece that needed to fall into place. And I just hope this momentum carries over into the rest of this construction project and we can just get this hotel rebuilt. You know, it's energized me. After 8 months of banging my head, I was starting to get a little bit fatigued. It might be showing, but I'm pumped up again. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to keep this project going, get this hotel back online, and hopefully have a lot of you guys come up here and stay in it. You know, it was truly a monumental day in Cerro Gordo's history. You know, this is the most concrete that's ever been poured at Cerro Gordo, and it's going towards the rebuilding of a hotel that I hope stands for hundreds of years. And so it wasn't lost on me, you know, the importance of this day, not just in my life, but hopefully in the history of Cerro Gordo, was big to me. You know, it was a day that I really enjoyed, and I think it's one of the most rewarding days of my entire life.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed our time here at Cerro Gordo. I know that we absolutely loved it and that we will be back. But if I could ask you to do one thing, it would be to drop a comment below. Let us know what your favorite part of this whole project was, whether it was going through the mines or watching us logistically figure out how to pour the concrete. Also, when you like the videos, it helps us a ton. And then obviously, every single one of you should be subscribed, because you know that every 250,000 new subscribers I get, I give away one of my personal vehicles. And we're coming up on 1 million very quickly. So if you guys want a chance to win one of my vehicles, you either need to already be subscribed, which most of you already are, but if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, because that's gonna enter you automatically for a chance to win one of my vehicles. So guys, buckle up, stay tuned, because we're just getting started.
Did it work?
See that? You got a chip sack and cut your skin.
Where's Hunter? In mine. Rocks out of the ceiling.
Where'd you guys drop Hunter?
So, talking about the most exotic places we've ever been. We've been all through the heart of South America, through the jungle. Jim and I have blown up cars down literally in the middle of the Amazon rainforest. Old Jack's here. What's the most exotic place you've been?
He asked me, he's like, you got a passport? And I was like, yeah, well, it expired. I had one. I went up to Edmonton, Canada, and did an auctioneering competition up there once. He's like, that's the most exotic place. I'm like, hey, it's for a Montana boy, it was something. All right, it was something.
Exotic, man. Because they have what are those things they have up there that are super exotic?
Well, I know they got cattle.
They got cattle. They have some snow. They got an oil patch.
Tar sands, I think.
Oh man, that sucks.
I can't see any camera.
Yeah, I don't know where we're going.
We're in a mugshot lineup.
Who dares disturb my slumber?
'Tis I, Dave Kiley, of the House of Kiley.
Dave? Oh, hey, man. I was just trying to keep trespassers out.
Yay!
I was supposed to explain how you got your powers. I didn't say diesel for a reason. I thought you were going to go that direction.